I'm 27, just landed my first real office job after graduation. I'm quiet, cautious, not the type to draw attention. The company was in a slightly run-down building downtown, the kind with faded paint and rattling elevators. My first day was mid-September, a weekday that started cool and grey. I remember sipping lukewarm coffee on the train, watching people shuffle past, lost in their own worlds. Everything felt ordinary, mundane even, but a small part of me felt tense, though I couldn't say why. I arrived early, dressed in a neat shirt and slacks, carrying a leather briefcase that already felt too heavy. The lobby smelled faintly of cleaning chemicals and old carpet. I checked in with the receptionist, signed some forms, and took the elevator to the 4th floor. My new co-worker, a friendly woman named Melissa, showed me around. We stopped by the kitchenette. I noticed the hum of the fluorescent lights above, the faint whir of the air conditioner. It was all normal, comforting even. And I relaxed slightly, chatting about where I'd grown up and how long I'd lived in the city. It was during the second hour at my desk that I first noticed him. A man, maybe in his late 40s, walked past my cubicle several times. He wore a gray hoodie and jeans, which seemed casual enough, but something about the way he lingered at the corners of his eyes felt off. He didn't work on our floor, at least not that I knew. When he walked by, he never smiled, never said a word, just kept walking, looking straight ahead. I told myself he was probably maintenance or maybe an IT guy. My stomach fluttered, but I shrugged it off. By lunch, the unease had grown. I went down to the small cafeteria, and he was there too, sitting alone at the corner table, watching people. I could feel him staring when I walked in, though I didn't turn to look directly. Something about the angle of his head, the way his eyes seemed fixed on me, made my throat tight. I tried to focus on my sandwich, on the hum of chatter around me, but I kept catching glimpses of him out of the corner of my eye. When I returned to my desk, I saw him again in the elevator mirror, as if he had followed me up. By mid-afternoon, I started to panic. Every time I stood up, he was somewhere nearby. I noticed small things, a shadow in the reflection of the glass walls, the soft scrape of shoes on tile when the floor was otherwise quiet. When I tried to mention it to Melissa, she gave me a strange look, half concerned, half dismissive. "Maybe you're just nervous," she said. But my stomach churned. I couldn't shake the feeling that he knew something I didn't. It all came to a head around 5 p.m. The office was nearly empty, and I was packing up when I saw him step out from the supply closet at the end of the hall. He didn't move quickly, just stood there, his hands shoved in the pockets of his hoodie. My heart hammered. "Can I help you?" I asked, my voice trembling. He tilted his head slightly. "You're new," he said softly, almost casually. I swallowed hard. "Yes, just finishing up." He didn't respond further, just turned and walked back toward the elevator without another word. I didn't wait. I ran to the stairwell, taking the steps 2 at a time, out of the building, not looking back until I reached the street. I never saw him again, though I reported the incident to security. They checked the floor, reviewed camera footage, but nothing matched my account. No one had seen him in the building. Even Melissa acted as if nothing had happened. I quit that job 2 weeks later. Months later, I sometimes think about that day. The way he moved, the way he watched, like he knew exactly where I was, always a step behind, always present in the empty spaces. And sometimes, late at night, I checked the corner of my reflection in the window, half expecting to see a shadow of a man who should not be there.
I'm 24, just out of college, and I landed a job as a junior receptionist at a small private clinic. I'm usually cheerful but cautious, the type to double-check locks and schedules. My first day was a Tuesday morning in late October. The streets were quiet, the sun barely cutting through a gray sky. I walked in with my bag slung over my shoulder, trying to calm my nerves with deep breaths. Everything seemed normal, ordinary even, but a flicker of unease lingered in my chest. The day started with orientation. My trainer, an older woman named Janice, gave me a tour. Filing rooms, patient areas, and a small back office where I'd spend most of my time. I introduced myself to a few staff members. The receptionist before me had left early, so I was alone at my desk for a bit. I noticed the smell of antiseptic, the quiet hum of computers, and the soft beep of monitors from adjacent rooms. I unpacked my things, organized pens and forms, and tried to focus on the routine. About an hour in, I noticed someone hovering near the hallway outside the back office. A man, dressed in black jeans and a dark hoodie, leaned against the wall just outside the door. At first, I thought he was a new patient waiting quietly, but he didn't move when staff walked by and his eyes seemed fixed on me. I told myself it was normal. Maybe he was waiting for someone else or a family member. I shook off the chill in my spine and continued with filing. By lunch, the man had moved closer. I saw him in the reflection of the glass door, standing at the end of the corridor. My stomach tightened every time I heard footsteps nearby, only to glance up and find him still there, silent. When I went to the kitchenette, he appeared on the opposite side of the hall, as if anticipating my movement. The clinic felt smaller, more confining, and I noticed the sound of my own heartbeat louder than usual. I tried mentioning him to Janice, but she waved it off. Oh, that's probably just a visitor, nothing to worry about. The tension reached its peak mid-afternoon. I was alone in the back office, entering patient records when I heard the door click open. He was standing in the doorway, expressionless. "You're new," he said softly. My voice caught in my throat. "Yes, I just started today." He tilted his head slightly. "I see everything," he whispered. My heart lurched. I barely remember stumbling backward, grabbing my bag and bolting toward the main exit. The staff were gone, the waiting area empty. I ran into the street, not daring to look back, and didn't stop until I reached the train station. I reported the incident, but security cameras showed only an empty hallway. No visitor logs, no trace of him anywhere. I didn't return to that clinic, quitting the job within the week. Even now, months later, I can't forget the way he lingered in empty spaces, the quiet intensity in his gaze, the way he seemed to know exactly where I'd be before I moved. Sometimes, when I'm alone at work or walking through quiet buildings, I catch a glimpse of a shadow in a corner and my pulse spikes. I wonder if he was just a stranger, or if he's still following, waiting for someone new.
I'm 26, a quiet, methodical type, and I'd just started a new position as a barista at a small cafe in the city. My first day was a Wednesday in early November, the air crisp and overcast. I liked routines, but I'd never worked in a fast-paced environment before. I remember stepping into the cafe early, the scent of coffee beans and warm pastries filling the air. Everything seemed ordinary, the familiar hiss of the espresso machine, the soft clatter of dishes, but I had a lingering, unplaceable sense of tension. The morning went by slowly as I learned the register system and the layout of the cafe. I wiped counters, restocked milk and syrups, and greeted the handful of customers who trickled in. The sunlight streaming through the large front windows highlighted the dust motes in the air. My manager, a jovial man named Luis, explained the cleaning schedule and showed me the staff-only area behind the kitchen. Everything was meticulous, controlled, and normal. Around mid-morning, I noticed him. A man in his 30s, wearing a dark hoodie and jeans, lingered near the cafe entrance. He didn't order anything, he just stood, hands in pockets, watching. At first, I thought he was waiting for someone. But when customers came and went, he stayed, his gaze never leaving me. My pulse quickened, but I forced myself to focus on the counter, on steaming milk, on the cheerful chatter of customers. By noon, he had moved closer, standing near the condiment station where I prepared drinks. His presence was unsettlingly quiet, but I could feel it in the hairs on my neck. I tried mentioning it to Luis, but he laughed nervously. "Probably just likes the coffee," he said. I tried to laugh too, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. Every reflection on the glass door, every shadow cast across the floor seemed to mimic his position, always near, always watching. The confrontation came suddenly. I stepped into the small storage room to grab supplies and heard the door click behind me. He was standing there, just inside the threshold, expressionless. "You shouldn't be alone," he said softly. I froze, gripping the shelf edge. I'm just fetching supplies," I stammered. He tilted his head slightly, and that same quiet intensity settled over me like a weight. Without another word, he walked back toward the main cafe area. My hands were shaking as I locked the storage door and stepped out, trying to act normal. After that, I stuck close to co-workers and avoided the front of the cafe when possible. The man was gone by the afternoon, but I kept scanning every reflection, every entrance. I reported the incident to the manager, who said they'd review the cameras, but they found nothing. I quit a week later, unable to shake the feeling of being watched. Months later, I still think about that first day. I replay the way he lingered in empty spaces, the quiet patience in his movements, and the way he seemed to anticipate where I'd be. I wonder if he's still out there, following other new hires, waiting for the same moment I experienced.